Welcome. You've been asking for it. This is the new version of the addressable LED for the Pinmos, and this is the 2022 edition. Stay tuned. This is a roll of addressable LEDs, 2812, and this is 144 LEDs per meter, and most of them have a connector like this. This is the male portion. This is where the power gets injected. Now, before you purchase a power supply for your addressable LED needs, you'll need to find out how many LEDs you have. Now, count the number of LEDs and multiply by 0.060, and it will give you the number of amps that you require to run these LEDs at 100%. Now, I have 144, let's say one strip will actually require 8 amps on average. And this is my 5-volt dedicated power supply, very important. Don't use 5-volt that's connected to other toys. This is the Pinmos, which is basically a shield for the Pinmos. And the left ports, they're basically where the data signal, the green wire of the addressable LED will connect. So you can see from the top, 1, 2, 3, to 8, and the one at the bottom is the ground that'll connect to your 5-volt dedicated power supply. You see on the right, I have a big X. So do not use the 5-volt and ground here if you're using a virtual pinball cab. Use only the ground that's on the bottom left of the outputs. So here's a visual aid to show you how we connect the strip. Now you can see on the right we have the strip, and where the red is going to the 5-volt positive, and then the black goes to the negative of the power supply, and the green, which is the middle, will actually go on the output ports on the left side. And you can see that the ground of the 5-volt power supply goes to the ground port of the Pinmos. And we have the computer USB cable that we connect. This will generate the 5-volt power that the Pinmos requires. At the top, we have a little red box with white switches. These are for adding a resistor of 220 ohms to the strip. Some strips requires them, some strips don't, but it's very nice to have the options. This is the Pinmos controller board. This is used to flash the firmware that will run basically the addressable LEDs. It's going to be mounted on the Pinmos. The Pinmos is a bridge that is between your addressable LEDs and the Pinmos. It facilitates connection. Temporary connections. I have the 5-volt plus and minus connected, and I got power on the lights. And I'm going to connect my data signal from the addressable LED, the green wire. The rest is going to be software based now that we've connected all the hardware. So you're going to go to Arnoz website and download the Arnoz Tiny Tools. Now we're going to extract the zip file and launch the installer. And I'm picking all the default locations for it. We can launch the tool from the desktop. The tool really has two functions. One is to flash firmware and the other one is to generate a cabinet file. And it supports 2 cards, the Pinmos and the Teensy. If you're having issues with Windows detecting the Pinmos, click that little Windows driver. Now the Pinmos comes already flashed, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. You need to find the COM port. Now to find the port, you're going to click in the control panel. You're going to click on Device Manager. And you're going to click in the ports, Silicon Labs COM9. So I'm going to use COM9 for my cabinet config. Under Select the Firmware, I'm going to pick the right one from my strip, which is the WS2812. Now you want to select that middle box, Test on Reset, and Update Firmware. Now it's sending the information to the Pinmos. Once it's complete, you should see something interesting on your LED strip. a sequence of red, green, and blue that shows a successful connection. There are quite a few different types of strips. Which one should be the right one for you? In my opinion, the only options is the 144 LED per meter, and that's because, well, you get better effects because there are more LEDs. This image is just to show you a representation of the connections. So the 5 volt plus, if you notice, it comes from the left side of the arrow. That the arrow basically shows the direction the data is traveling on the strip. So that's important when you're connecting. So these are the different models slash type of strips. So it's the technology of the LEDs basically. I'm just going to focus on what I think you should get, and it's the WS2812B. What's different with the B? Well, it's brighter, faster, and the technology actually allows for better heat dissipation. The WS2813, I think personally it's overkill. It has redundancy built in, so if a LED dies, the strip will continue working, but it requires extra connection. So I don't know if it's worth it. Now here, if you look at the LED arrangements, there's a little help section that shows you the different values. You might have seen this one too. This is the original from Swiss Lizard. So I'm going to break this down real simple for you guys. I know a lot of people find this confusing, and it is confusing, but let's just look at the right strip on the playfield. So on the right side, the one where, the LEDs are flashing up and down. My power and the data comes from the bottom, and that's where the connection is, and the LEDs are moving towards the top where the backglass is located. I'm going to pick the signal, starts at the bottom, it goes up, it's on the right side of the playfield, right? Now, the way I understand the last value is where it's going to pass on the signal next. So it's only relevant if you have multiple strips connected together. In our case, each strip will be connected to a separate port, so it's irrelevant where it's going to pass on the information next. Let me talk about the actual cabinet itself. So the purpose of the cabinet file, folks, is this is a requirement for addressable LED to see the number of LEDs you've got and then the direction the data is traveling. So the one thing that you need to configure is the controller first, the controller settings. So in here, you're going to set it to your COM port that we previously found in the actually control panel under the ports. So you're going to put that same value in here. When you're starting, you're not going to have anything in here. Now I have mine and I'm going to walk you through on how I created those. The first one is basically you click and then you're going to select add new addressable toy and it's going to open up the output one. Now the output one, folks, it's going to match what's on the Pinmos. It's going to be at the bottom. It's going to say, well, output one D5. This is my right playfield. So I actually can change the name. See right here, right PF, one LED in width, and there's 99 of them that I have. And the DOF output port is port number 1. So for the LED arrangement, you see it's bottom up, right, left. You can actually select it from the drop down right here. So we're selecting this one for the right strip. I would say the right strip is probably the right and left strip and the dot matrix. They're kind of the only one taking advantage of the arrangement. The other one you can get away with pretty much anything. So the reason for this is because that's on your right side of the playfield, right? And bottom because the power and the data starts at the bottom, it goes up, and it's on the right side of the playfield. So that's why we're picking this one. Now on the online DOF config tool, you're going to see here, these are the port. So for example, it's going to be my right effect MX for the playfield. So I have this selected, but we will get back to this later. All right, so you saw that this output here, it's using 3 ports. So from 1 to 3. So the next one sequentially is going to be 4. Or second strip. So you're going to add a new one. I got 99 as well. It's starting from the bottom because it's the data port is connected at the bottom of the strip, and it's going up, and then it's on the left side of the playfield. So you're going to pick that one. And the next output, like I said, is port number 4. The next one is my LED rings that are inside the speaker. So I have 35 per LEDs, but I actually combine both of them. The right speaker LED and then the left speaker LED, I just connect the 2 green together and I connect the greens onto the Pinmos. The next output is 7. The LED arrangement doesn't matter. It's an effect. It's not something that has to be from the bottom or from the top. So the next one is the under cab LEDs. Both combined are 111. And I did the exact same thing. I connected the green together and I actually give it left, right, top, down. Again, it's not much of importance. And the next DOF output is 10. So now we're going to add a dot matrix. Here is going to be my width. So basically how many LEDs across, and the height is going to be how many LEDs, well, for the height. So 8 by 32 equals 256. Now, the LED arrangement, folks, this is where it's going to be so important. If you see effects, but it's all weird, it means that you've got this LED arrangement wrong. Actually, I'm going to show you an example right now where that LED arrangement would be wrong. So if you have that happening, you've got weird effects and it doesn't really make sense. That's because the LED arrangement is wrong. So if you do have an effect, it's a good news. Like you've got the signal, it's properly connected, but the LED arrangement is wrong. So what you will do is you're going to basically just click on this and you just try them all. There's only a handful of alternate. There are 8. So what you do is after each one, if it doesn't work, you do this. You export your cabinet file into the output, direct output /config, overwrite your old cabinet, launch the game, and see if there's actually a change. So once I had mine fixed, I'll show you what it looked like. When you're done configuring your cabinet file, click that export button at the bottom, and we're going to pick the direct output config folder, and we're going to pick a name cabinet, and you're going to hit save. So a critical step is to generate the global config, and you're going to select the global config editor.exe in the direct output folder. And double clicking this will give you this prompt. So I'm going to select where all our INI files are. So basically this is on the C drive in direct output config. This is where it is. And we're going to select the next tab at the top. It says cabinet config. Now remember, we've already created our cab, so we got to tell it where it is. So remember where we saved it? We saved it in the direct output config folder. Here's our cabinet file right here. We need to save two files of this config, and we're going to rename them. So the first one is going to be global config. And the spelling is important, I believe. Just make sure that you have a capital G and a capital C in the config. And we're going to save it in the direct output config folder. If you already have a file, you can replace it. It's not a problem. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to say save as. And this one, well, I have one here, but you won't. It's going to be empty. But that's the naming that you need. It's global config underscore B2S server .xml. And always check the spelling of your files, folks. I had people that were basically trying to figure out why it was not working. And let's say, for example, the file was named .xml. And I'm going to hit save. And in this case, I have one. I'm going to replace it. And you are done. And I'm going to open the DOF Config tool online from VP Universe. By the way, Arngrim, Daz, all the folks that are actually coding DOF, it's very labor intensive. Thank you so much for doing all that hard work. All right, so the first thing you're going to do, you're going to click in My Account. What you're going to set is you're going to go to number of WS2811 device, and then you're going to set it to 1. You're going to save your config, and then you're good. So under the in the port assignments in the device, you're going to have a drop down now, and then you should see your WS2811. This is where we're going to configure the addressable LED. In the port assignments, this is where we tell which strip is what. So everything that we have addressable LED capability has an MX at the end. So for the right strip, well, I'm going to select right effects, and it's using 3 ports. And the next strip, which is going to be my left strip that we already set up in the cabinet file, right? It's going to be the PF left effect. And that's going to be C. It's using port 4, 5, and 6. Now the next port is going to be 7. That is my actual back rings that are on the speakers. Now here you can actually experiment. There's no set effects. Try different things. I'm just going to use the back effects MX. The only thing is, folks, just remember when you change something in here, you have to save and regenerate and override your config in the config folder of direct output. Very important. Otherwise, your effects are not going to take effect. The next one is for the undercab. So I'm going to set the, right here, RGB undercab complex MX. What I'm showing now is the combo toy. So what is that? It basically adds multiple effects to one strip. So for example, the dot matrix, we want maybe more than just the back effect. So I'm adding a bunch of them. Again, you're gonna have to experiment with this. There's no set pre-config. The only thing is in the toy, in the first box, you select RGB addressable, and the additional toys, try stuff. Well, obviously all MX stuff, and just export your config, overwrite your existing config, and see what kind of effects you're getting. By the way, if you found a good combo, leave your combo in the comment below, and people can take advantage of your effects. Now in the port assignment, well, we're going to go to basically the drop down for our dot matrix. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see now the combo that we just created. It's combo number 1. So the download is complete. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go in the config folder and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to right click and extract all files in here. And I'm going to say yes to overwrite.
This is an emergency broadcast. The Earth is being invaded by flying saucers from Mars.
We are invincible.
Now I'm going to show you how to connect the addressable LED buttons. These are from Arnoz, and they're actually quite nice. There are 4 little connectors right here, and you're just going to connect the wires. The 5-volt positive, then we got the ground, then the next one is the data in, and the last one is the data out. Now I'm using this wire. It's actually super easy to use. There are 4 wires together, so it's easier to connect and to fish in your cab. The LEDs flat against the cabinet. Your leaf mount, I'm actually putting it on top of it, just like that. Okay, so now the 3 wires are connected. Now if I press the test button on the Pinmos, it actually sends a sequence of LEDs, red, green, and blue, on every strips that are connected. So now I see I've got these guys.
Eternal glory. That is what awaits the student who wins the Tri-Wizard tournament.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I got to tell you about
Folks, thank you so much for following this. I know for a fact that lots of you are going to rewatch this video over and over and over again. I made it for that reason. It is complicated, folks. Don't think it's an easy thing to do, but I hope this guide is going to help you. If you have any questions, folks, we have a server dedicated for chatting about virtual pinball. It's on Discord. It's called the Virtual Pinball Chat. We're actually getting close to 9,000 members. Thank you, everybody that supports, that are at Patreons or server boosters. Thank you so much. Everything here is free. Everybody's volunteers. And if you want to help or you got a question, come here and be part of the family. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in a next video.